Hello YouTube and welcome to the next routes learning video. On today's video we're going to be visiting the brand new Wherry Lines add-on from Armstrong Powerhouse, and I'm going to be driving a regional railways class 150 between Norwich and Lowestoft, which is a distance of around 23.5 miles. This is a custom created scenario, which I've created specifically for this video following the real-life timetable of train 2 Juliet 86, which is the 1750 Norwich to Lowestoft service, though of course this being a regional railways class 150, I have set this scenario in British Rail days. Along the way, we will be calling at Brundle, Cantley, Reedham, Haddiscoe, Somerleyton, Oulton Broad, and finally Lowestoft. The Class 150 has been in service since 1984 and was manufactured at Brundle, York, between 1984 and 1987. They are part of the Sprinter family of diesel multiple units, and they replaced the older first generation slam door DMUs. A total of 137 Class 150s have been built, with 2 or 3 coaches per train set. The maximum speed of each unit is 75 miles per hour, and the weight is 35.8 tonnes. The maximum power output is 286 horsepower per engine. Once in the cab of the Class 150, there's just a few things that I need to do to set up the train ready for departure. The first thing I'm going to do is put the master key in, just by clicking on it and then dragging it into the hole there. And now I'm going to move the reversing handle and reset the AWS self-test sequence. Now that I've done that, I've put the train into forward, and now I just need to flip some of these switches over on the left-hand side here. So I'm going to turn on the marker lights and instrument lights, turn off the tail lights, turn on the destination indicator, although I can't actually change the destination for this journey, as the correct destination isn't actually available on the destination blinds, which you can change manually with the F7 and F8 keys. The next thing I'm going to do is turn on the headlights, which default initially to the night setting. So I'll just press the H key twice there to put the headlights onto the day setting, which illuminates the right-hand headlight. And now let's just go through some of the controls here. So in front of us here we have a standard West Code 3-step brake, which is very standard for trains of the era. So we've got the release position, steps 1, 2, full service, which is step 3, and then finally a 4th position, which is emergency. I shouldn't be going above step 2 braking on this journey today. Now if we continue around the cab here, you can see in front of us there the horn control, which is a 2-tone horn controlled with the space bar and the B key, because I do have the Armstrong Powerhouse sound pack installed. And now continuing around the cab, up here we've got the main brake gauge. You can see the needle on the right hand side is pointing to around 3.5, so that's the brake cylinder pressure needle, and that indicates how hard the brakes are applied. If I now move the braking handle down to step 2, you can see that it's now pointing towards the number 2, and move it further down, it's now pointing towards the number 1. So that just helps us to know how hard the brakes are applied, although I can of course see the brake handle due to the FOV setting that I'm currently using. And now we've got the main speedometer in front of us here, which measures the speed in miles per hour. As already mentioned, the maximum speed for this unit is 75 miles per hour, though we won't actually be able to get up to 75 miles per hour on this journey today, as the maximum speed limit for this route is 60 miles per hour. And now down here we've got the main power handle or power control, and as you can see there are 7 steps or notches of power here. So what I will generally do when starting the train moving is I'll start in a low setting. I'll go up to roughly notch 3 until the train has actually started moving, and then I'll gradually step it up towards notch 7. One of the good things about this particular unit is when trying to maintain a speed of 60 miles per hour, as we'll need to on this route, when you put the power handle into notch 4, that actually holds us at around 59.7 miles per hour, so long as we're not on any steep downhill gradients. So it's actually very easy to maintain 60 miles per hour in this unit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open the windows, because you can open them on this unit, and for anyone who's watched my previous videos, you'll certainly know I do like to drive with the windows open, as you get to hear the noise of the air rushing past, and you also get to hear the engine more clearly. The last thing I'm going to do now is turn off the driver's reminder appliance, which is the red light just to the left of the main windscreen there. Now that I've turned that off, then we will be able to leave once we've got clearance to do so. The driver reminder appliance is just a reminder device, so that if you were stopped at a red signal or you stopped at a station with a cautionary signal, when you turn that on, it won't actually allow the train to draw power, so you won't be able to move anywhere, and you are supposed to use it always when stopping under red or cautionary signals. Now that we've had a look around the cab, let's just take a look at a couple more shots of Norwich Station before departing and heading out towards Lowestoft. Departing Norwich, the starting speed limit is 25 miles per hour, and we've got around 5¾ miles to go to our first stop, which is Brundle. So I'm currently in full power, accelerating up towards 25 miles per hour. As we reach 25 in a moment, I'm now just going to pull the power back and now idle the power completely and just allow the train to coast at this point until we can accelerate further. So you can see there are Class 86 set coming in from London Liverpool Street, and indeed the line now diverging off to the right is the Great Eastern Main Line towards Ipswich and London Liverpool Street. Also on our right hand side at this point is Norwich Crown Point Depot, which is the main depot for the Great Eastern Main Line at the northern end. I had originally planned on recording this video in 60 frames a second for most of the journey. That is actually attainable without issue when recording, but at this end of the route it was actually causing too many lag issues. So as a result of that, I had to make the decision to record this video in 30 frames a second instead. You may or may not have just noticed, but we just passed a 60 mile per hour speed board. As our speed had coasted down to around 22 miles per hour, I just went straight into full power, as I didn't actually need to worry about where the rear of the train was in relation to the board, as I know the train can't actually accelerate quick enough to have ended up speeding before the full train had passed the speed board. I have to say, having now driven this route a couple of times, the quality of this new route from Armstrong Powerhouse is absolutely fantastic. It's really well put together. The graphics are really, really good. And I also like the sounds as well, and the fact that we have a mixture of continuously welded rail and jointed track along here. And I've always quite liked hearing the jointed track sound. It brings back memories from when I was younger and there was a lot more jointed track around, and it just really helps to give you a great sense of speed when driving a train. So I am going to put the link of where to purchase this route in the description of this video for anyone who's not familiar with this route so far, but I can certainly highly recommend it, and I hope that you'll agree after watching me drive this journey. It's actually more than just an A to B route. There's actually two main destinations from Norwich, one being Lowestoft and the other being Great Yarmouth, and there's actually also two routes from Norwich to Great Yarmouth available here. The line now diverging to the left is the line towards Cromer and Sherring. I had originally planned on doing this journey in the Class 156, which I actually believe may be a more correct unit, though I do think Class 150s have certainly been used along here in the past. But unfortunately it seems to be that in the Class 156 it has a tendency to crash on this route for some reason, and Train Simulator generates the dump error, rather infamous error, which is an absolute pain at times, so I swapped out the Class 156 for the Class 150 instead, and it seems to run fine. We can actually ignore this Morpeth board here, so this Morpeth board is warning of a 20/60 speed limit, with the 20 mph speed limit in force for loco-hauled trains, and the 60 speed limit for normal passenger trains. As the current line speed is 60, I don't actually need to do anything to respond, other than reset the AWS alarm there. Just a very short 20 section there, and now the line speed is back up to 60 for all trains. What I'm looking out for now is Brundle Gardens station, which we will be passing through, and that is 1 mile from our stop at Brundle. We're now coming up on Brundle Gardens station, so as I've already mentioned, that means we've got a mile to go to Brundle. What I'm looking out for next is a crossing on this right-hand curve here. As we reach the crossing, I'm going to idle the power, and then there will be a whistle board just after the crossing. And I'm going to apply the brakes initially at step 1 at the whistle board until I can see the platform at Brundle coming up, and then at that point I will go up to step 2 of braking to bring our speed down quicker. So just come up on the crossing now. Here's the whistle board just after the crossing here. I've now made a step 1 brake application to bring our speed down, and I'm just looking out for the platform ahead, so as soon as I see it, I can just see the end of the platform now. I've now gone up to step 2 of braking, which should bring our speed down nicely. Now reduce the braking to step 1, otherwise we might stop too early. I'm aiming to stop here at the end of the platform. And from this point I'm just going to fan the brakes really between step 1 and 2 to bring us to a controlled and gentle stop. Just release the brakes just momentarily. Now reapply, and we should now be stopping in about the right place. Departing Brundle, the starting speed limit is 60 miles per hour, and we've got around 4¼ miles to go to the next stop, which is Cantley. The line now diverging to the left is the line to Great Yarmouth via Acle, which is one of the 2 routes to Great Yarmouth which have been included on this add-on. So just as a quick update, yesterday I actually spent a good number of hours building both this scenario and another scenario, the other one being between Cardiff and London Paddington for the new Western Main Lines route from Just Trains. I have now managed to complete both scenarios. Obviously with this one I'm currently recording, and with the other one I've just got to test it and just make sure it's all working okay and learn the route before recording it. But you can certainly expect to see the Cardiff to London Paddington video coming up now within the next few days. As I mentioned in my last video, I've got a bit of extra free time this week, so I'm really trying to work hard to get as many videos up as I can whilst I've got the time to do so. At the whistle board we just passed, we had 3¼ miles to go to our stop at Cantley. I've also been trying to finalise the script for the Class 90 train guide. I know I've been promising that now for a good couple of months, so I've been finalising the script for that in the hopes of also getting that up this week, in addition to this video and also the Western Main Lines video, and possibly a Gatwick Express video as well in a Class 442. So there's at least 3 more videos after this that I'm trying to get up this week. If I have any free time after that, I'd love to try and get 1 or 2 more up, but I can't guarantee anything. So I'd just like to say I'm going to make as many videos as I can, as frequently as I can for this week. And then next week I'm back at university once again, and then I've got the 2-week Easter holiday, and in the first week of the Easter holiday I'm busy, but in the second week of the Easter holiday I'm going to again really try and commit time to getting as many videos up as I can. We're now passing through Buckenham Station, and we've got 2¼ miles to go at this point to Cantley. The next landmark that I'm looking out for along here is a distance signal which will be coming up shortly. At the AWS ramp for that distance signal we've then got 2/3 mile to go to our stop, so I'm going to idle the power as we reach the signal itself. And then I'm going to be looking out for the whistle board beyond the distance signal, and I'm going to apply the brakes between step 1 and 2 just after we've passed that whistle board. So we're just coming up on the distance signal now. Here's the AWS ramp with 2/3 mile to go. I'm now going to idle the power and just look out for the next whistle board, which I believe is just coming up now on the left hand side. As I said, I'm going to apply the brakes just after we've passed this board. So I'm now up to step 2 of braking. I can see the platforms coming up, and I think our speed is coming down about right. I certainly hope it is. It certainly is. We're now down to 35 miles per hour, 30, and I don't really want to enter the platform at faster than around 25. So we should be slowing down nicely now. And I'm aiming to stop by the S sign, which is near the end of this platform. I can just see the S sign coming up on the platform marker there where it says platform 2. You can just see the S sign is on that post. And so we should now be stopping, I think around here should be about the right place. Departing Cantley, the starting speed limit is 60 miles per hour, and we've got around 2¼ miles to go to our next stop, which is Reedham. One of the things that you'll notice on this route is the almost complete lack of hills in any direction. And that's because Norfolk is actually very flat. It's certainly famous for being flat with the Norfolk Broads and so on. So although I do find the scenery beautiful, I do wish that there were more hills in Norfolk, just to make the landscape just that little bit more interesting. Still, driving on this route within Train Simulator with the way that Armstrong Powerhouse has done it, I think that this is one of the best driving experiences now, and it's certainly the best driving experience for a British branch line that I've had in Train Simulator so far. So what I'm looking out for now is the next signal, which is actually a distance signal. At the distance signal, we've then got 1 mile to go to Reedham. And then after the distance signal, there will be a Morpeth board warning for an upcoming 15 mile per hour speed limit, which comes into force just the other side of Reedham station. So just coming up on the distance signal now. At this point we've then got a mile to go to Reedham. Just cut the power back to notch 4 just to ensure that we don't break the speed limit along here. Once we reach the 15 Morpeth board, which is coming up now I believe, we've then got ½ mile to go to our stop. So just crossed the AWS ramp for the 15 mile per hour Morpeth board. At this point I'm idling the power to allow the train to coast. I'm going to apply the brakes halfway between that board and the next signal, which is now coming up. So I've now got the brakes on initially in step 1, now going up to step 2. Which is bringing our speed down quite nicely. This end of the platform at Reedham isn't actually in use anymore. We do need to stop at the other end of the platform. So it can be sort of a bit of an illusion here that as you see the platforms coming up, you think that you're closer to your stopping point than you actually are. So I'm aiming here to stop at the S sign, which is around the area of the footbridge. And we should now be stopping in about the right place. Departing Reedham, the starting speed limit is 60 miles per hour, though quickly dropping to 15 miles per hour. And we've got around 4 miles to go to our next stop, which is Haddiscoe. So at this point I'm going to accelerate to just above 15 miles per hour. And now at this point I'm going to shut off the power and allow the train to coast. And I'm just going to apply the brakes very lightly to ensure that we're down below 15. Just before we reach the 15 board you can see just here on the left. Just made a step 1 brake application and we're now down to 15 miles per hour. So at this point I'm just going to allow the train to coast and then go up to notch 1 of power if we lose too much speed. So I'm just giving us 1 notch of power now. As I can see, we're falling towards 13 miles per hour. And while a 2 mile an hour drop doesn't sound like a lot, certainly when you're travelling at this speed, it does add time to the journey. Now just going to shut off the power again for a moment. The line now diverging to the left is the other alternate route to Great Yarmouth, which has been included with this add-on. So you can also get to Great Yarmouth that way, as well as at the junction just after Brundle station. The speed limit here is now going up to 20 miles per hour. I'm just going to wait a few seconds before I increase the power, just to ensure that the rear of the train has cleared the board. Now, there's no clear marker to show me exactly when the rear of the train has cleared. I believe it will have done now, so I'm just going to go up to a medium power setting to bring our speed up towards 20. And then as we're doing around 20, I'm just going to go back to notch 1 of power, which actually holds us at a speed of around 19 miles per hour and doesn't allow us to go above that speed. So we're now doing 20. I've just gone back to notch 1 of power, and that should pretty much maintain the speed that we're currently travelling at. Although in a moment we're actually going to be crossing a swing bridge, and there is quite a steep climb up to the bridge. At that point you will then notice the speed fall off a bit quicker. I believe we're just starting the climb up towards the swing bridge now. You can see the bridge coming up just ahead here. And then just at the other side of the bridge, there's actually a 1 in 80 downward gradient, which is why I'm not giving us any more power at this point. In fact, I'm going to shut off the power for a moment, as once we're on the downward gradient, we're then going to rapidly gain speed. And I'm going to need to use the brakes to control our speed on the descent here. So we've now started on the 1 in 80 downward gradient. Our speed is starting to gain again. You can see we're going up towards 20 miles per hour. So I'm just getting ready now with the brake handle to use that just to control our speed until the gradient levels out again. So just notch 1 of braking there. That's brought our speed back down towards 17 miles per hour. I've now released the brakes once again, and we're quickly going back up towards 20, although the gradient will be levelling out in a moment. In fact, I believe the gradient has now levelled out. So I'm just going to go back to notch 1 of power to try and hold us at around 19 miles per hour, just until we're able to accelerate further, which we will be able to in a moment, as the speed limit will be going back up to 60 miles per hour. So we're just passing the 60 mile per hour speed board now. At this point we've got 2 2/3 of a mile to go to Haddiscoe station. And now I'm pretty sure that the rear of the train has cleared the board, so I've gone straight up to full power to accelerate up towards 60 miles per hour. The next landmark that I'm looking out for along here is a long overbridge, which we're going to pass under. Once we've reached that long overbridge, we've then got just over half a mile to go to Haddiscoe station. There will be a right curve just after that overbridge. I'm going to apply the brakes shortly after entering that right-hand curve. So we're now doing around 60 miles per hour. I've just cut the power back to notch 4, just to ensure that we don't break the speed limit here. And you can now see in the distance the long overbridge coming up, which I mentioned a moment ago. And so once we pass under that, we've got just over half a mile to go to our stop. I'm now going to idle the power as we pass under this bridge, and you can see the right hand curve coming up just ahead, which I also mentioned. So shortly after entering this right hand curve, just going to wait a few seconds. I'm now going to start applying the brakes at this point, initially into step 1, and then I will go up to step 2 as we get closer to the station. I can now see the station platform coming up just ahead, so I'm just going up to step 2 of braking now. You can see the S sign just coming up on the left hand side on the station lamppost there. Just releasing the brakes as I felt we were going to stop just slightly before the stop point, and this should now be about the right place to stop. Departing Haddiscoe, the starting speed limit is 60 miles per hour, and we've got just under 2 miles to go to the next stop, which is Somerleyton. The next landmark that I'm looking out for along here is a 30 mile per hour speed warning, which is around 2/3 of a mile from the 30 mile per hour speed limit itself. So we've just had the AWS warning for the 30 mile per hour Morpeth board here, which is, as I've already mentioned, is 2/3 of a mile from the speed limit itself. At this point I'm now going to idle the power and allow the train to coast. And I'm going to apply the brakes just around the area of the next signal to slow down in time for the upcoming 30 speed limit. So I initially made a step 1 brake application, then went up to step 2, and then back down to step 1 once again, as I could see the 30 board coming up. And so we are now down to 30 in time. Just got a steep climb there up to this bridge just here, and now we're levelling out in gradient on the bridge. And then as we leave the bridge, we're actually going to be going downhill, I believe, 1 in 80 towards the station, which will be coming up in a moment. You can now see the station coming up just ahead, and here at Somerleyton I'm aiming to stop at the S sign, which is just after the station building. And I'm just using the brakes at this point just to ensure that we don't gain any more speed. The gradient levels out just before we enter the platform here, so we're just coming off the 1 in 80 gradient now. I left the brakes in step 2 and then... Sorry, step 1 and then went up to step 2. And now I'm just fanning the brakes to bring our speed down nicely. And as you can probably see, the S sign is on the platform sign for platform 2, just to our left now. Departing Somerleyton, the starting speed limit is 60 miles per hour, and we've got around 4 miles to go to the next stop, which is Oulton Broad. There are now no speed changes between here and Oulton Broad Station, so it's just a straight through run at 60 miles per hour all of the way for the next 4 miles. Of course, the beauty of this route being a network means that this won't be the only video that I make on this add-on, and so you can also expect to see videos covering both routes between Norwich and Great Yarmouth, which I'm going to be recording in the not too distant future. In addition to that, it's the same with the Just Trains Western Main Lines route, whereas yes, I am doing, of course, the Cardiff to London Paddington run. But in addition to that, I'm also going to be doing runs between, say, Weston-super-Mare and Avonmouth, which is a real timetabled service that I found, and also runs such as maybe Taunton to Bristol Parkway, or Bristol Parkway to Taunton, should I say, to do it in the opposite direction. I also plan on covering the route between Oxford and London Paddington, probably in a Class 50, simply because I really don't enjoy driving the Thames Turbo Class 166 in Train Simulator. The handling just feels really off, and it's just not that enjoyable a train to drive. So there's several journeys there. Also London to Bristol, of course, is another one which I'm quite keen to cover. I'm going to try and get a first Great Western reskin of the Class 180, so I may be able to make a video in the Class 180 on the Western Main Lines add-on, which is something I think could be just a bit more interesting, just to add a bit of variety to the rolling stock and videos that I can make on that route. So what I'm looking out for along here now is a distance signal. At the distance signal, we've then got 1 mile to go to our stop at Oulton Broad. just coming up on the distance signal now. So this marks 1 mile to go to our stop, and I want to apply the brakes up to step 2 as we approach the next home signal. So I'm now going to shut off the power and just allow the train to coast along here. We are now approaching the home signal. I initially made a step 1 brake application. I'm now going up to step 2. I can see the platforms at Oulton Broad coming up just ahead. We might actually be slowing down just slightly too early there. So I've just pulled the braking back to step 1 once again. So here at Oulton Broad Station, I'm actually looking out for the 2 sign marking the stopping point for 2 coach trains. You just see the 2 sign coming up there on the left hand side. And so this should now be about the right place to stop. Departing Oulton Broad, the starting speed limit is 60 miles per hour, and we've got around 1.5 miles to go to our next and final stop, which is Lowestoft. The line now joining us on the right hand side, I believe, is the line from Ipswich. So just got an AWS warning here for a fixed distance signal board, which I'm not quite sure exactly what that's representing. I know it means drive with caution. I'm assuming it's because we're approaching the end of the line, and so as a result of that, it's just warning us of that. That's the only thing that I can think of, because I can't see any clear obstacles, and there are of course still signals coming up ahead which will not be displaying a cautionary or red aspect. Now that we're doing around 50 miles per hour, I'm just going to shut off the power at this point to allow the train to coast. At the next home signal coming up, we've then got around 2/5 of a mile to go to an upcoming 10 mile per hour speed limit, which is just before the station, and so I'm going to apply the brakes now into notch 1, and I will increase the braking further as we get closer. So the speed limit's actually dropping to 10 miles per hour for a point which we're going to cross to the right, which is, I believe, the last point just before the station itself. Just going to increase the braking further now, as I'm not sure exactly where the point is. Just know it's coming up very shortly. I don't believe it's this point. No, it's not, because this one's just going over into the what appears to be disused sidings over there. So I'm just going to release the brakes momentarily until we get a little bit closer to the point we're actually going to be crossing over on. I believe it's the point just coming up now, which you can see, which is heading to the right. So I'm just fanning the brakes to bring our speed down to 10 miles per hour, and so we're now down to 10. Just in time for crossing the point with the 10 mile per hour speed restriction on it. Just after crossing this point on the HUD, it shows the speed limit is going back up to 60 miles per hour, but you certainly would not want to be accelerating up towards 60 miles per hour here. As you can see, we are approaching the end of the line, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to allow the train to coast into the platform at around 10 miles per hour, because to me that seems realistic, and I believe that's probably what drivers would be doing here in real life. So we're now coasting towards the end of the platform. We've slowed down a little bit, so we're doing around 8 miles per hour now. So now coming up towards the end of the platform. As you can see here, there's no actual buffer stops, it's just a concrete wall there. So I'm just going to now start applying the brakes gradually just to bring our speed down and stop just in front of that wall, which should be just as the top of the wall disappears into the bottom of the windscreen. That should be about the right place to stop. You certainly wouldn't want to stop any closer than this. And so here we are, arrival at Lowestoft. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really do hope that you have enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And also please don't forget that you can find me on Facebook for the latest updates, the link of which is in the description of this video. And also if you liked this route, then please don't forget that I have put the link of where to purchase this route also in the description of this video. Once again, thank you for watching.